is day 12 of the PDC World Championship. We've got 4 round 3 games, which will conclude round 3. Then we're finishing the day off with 2 games from round 4. Firstly, we've got James Wade against Stephen Bunting. This kicks off the afternoon session. Wade is a 2-7 favourite. Bunting's 11-4-ish. Just looking at this game myself, I was surprised to learn that Bunting actually averaged higher than James Wade in their respective second round games, which was a slight surprise to me. I thought Bunting struggled and scraped past his opponent Andy Bolton. But yeah, Wade obviously had a 3-0 victory, but didn't have to get out of second gear. Callum Ridd's only averaged 78, so that might explain the similarity in the averages. But I expect James Wade to be getting through against Bunting, and I would expect him to be doing it pretty comfortably. 4-0 is 100-30. 4-1 probably would take my interest to 11-4. What did you make of it, Pieman?
Hi, Adam. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree too much with what you said. Stephen Bunting, I thought, was workmanlike, if not super impressive in his victory over Andy Bolton. He got quite thoroughly outplayed, to be honest, for the majority of the first 3 sets. But what I would say about Stephen Bunting's performance, his last 2 sets were as good as I've seen him play for some time, to be honest. I don't know what happened, but he seemed to click into gear off the back of a fantastic 1-4-8 finish from nowhere, really. Andy Bolton will consider himself extremely unlucky not to get through that match, to be honest. Naturally, I think we put him up on one of our earlier shows, so he was cursed to not go through there. But yeah, pretty impressed with Stephen Bunting. He'll have to keep it there and maybe even go up a notch to trouble James Wade, you would feel. As you say, Wade coasting past Callum Ridd, who didn't really turn up, was very disappointed with his performance, really, because his form was great coming into the tournament. But he didn't lay a glove on Wade, to be honest. He missed a set dart to make it 1-1, ended up losing 3-0, and it ended up being very routine. I guess you could argue that Wade hasn't really, as you say, had to get out of first gear, so he could be subjected to a sterner examination from Bunting. But yeah, I mean, Bunting's going to have to play like he did in the last 2 sets over an extended period if he's going to trouble James Wade. Yeah,
for sure, and I think it's the ability to do it over 5, 6, 7 sets. I don't think Bunting can keep those standards, particularly against Wade. I'll certainly have an eye on it because the winner plays Ryan Searle, but from a betting perspective, I might possibly be avoiding. And that's the same for game 2, in my opinion, to be honest. Gurney against Chris Dobey. I mean, we expected very little of these two. Well, so let's rephrase that. Both of these players were in poor form coming into this World Championship, and then in their respective first games, both actually impressed. Daryl Gurney averaged 99, Chris Dobey averaged 96 in respective 3-2 wins. I mean, they were both much better than what I was expecting of them. And as a result, it's pretty much a coin toss game. Daryl Gurney's 4-5, Chris Dobey's even money. If I had to go with one, it would be Daryl Gurney. If he can continue that confidence, if you like, from his first outing, I would expect him to be winning here. What did you make of it, Pieman?
Well, I think it's a really interesting game, actually. 2 players that, as you say, weren't hugely fancied prior to the tournament, but they've got form in the book, both seeded and both coming through tough games in their opening matches. Daryl Gurney, there was actually similarities between these 2 performances. Daryl Gurney, for a period of the game, looked absolutely phenomenal. He was untouchable in the first couple of sets, averaging 110. And then he suffered a bit of a drop-off when he didn't get the match closed out 3-0. But he still managed to hold off a resurgent Willie O'Connor. And I thought that was really impressive. I actually kind of nudged people in the direction of Daryl Gurney for what looked to me a quite an open quarter at 14-1. I think he's a lot shorter than that now. And this is a big chance for him because with Nathan Aspinall going out as well, the winner of this will play Vincent van der Voort in the last 16. So huge opportunity for all 3 of these players, really, Van der Voort, Dobey and Gurney. One of them is going to have a showdown with the winner of Gerwin Price and Merv King to win their respective quarter. Look, tricky game. 2 patchy players. As I say, Chris Dobey, also very patchy, was in massive trouble against Jeff Smith, 2-0 down, just hung in there to make it 2-1, and then himself averaged 110 across the last 2 sets, was faultless. So it's hard to have too much confidence in either of these players, turning up and putting a 4-0 together or a 4-1. I think we're likely to see a game where one player has the momentum and then it shifts on bit, or on key misses or on big checkouts. Definitely be an entertaining game to watch. Maybe play the sets, but to be honest, I would just avoid this game. Two players that are hard to trust too much, but I'll be cheering for Gurney.
I was looking at avoiding it, but I just think just make it simple. Gurney at 4-5 could be a hindsight job. We often get hindsight jobs in the betting game, and 4-5 to beat Chris Dobey, could be one of those. So keep it simple. Dobey's the 22 seed and Gurney's the 11 seed. And like I say, Gurney at his best should be beating Chris Dobey, but neither of them have been at the best for some time. So moving on to the third and final game of the afternoon, Devin Peterson against Jason Lowe. Now, I'm going to let Pieman talk to you about Jason Lowe. I don't know too much about him, to be honest, but I did watch the Devin Peterson game against Steve Lennon in the second round. I thought Peterson was below average, if not poor. He could have. I think Steve Lennon there was 4 sets in total. I think Steve Lennon had darts to win 3 of them at least. Peterson's finishing was way off. His scoring didn't really get going until the second half of the game. And as I flagged before a single dart was thrown, I thought Devin Peterson was the most wrong price of any competitor in the whole field. He was 33-1 to win it. I still wouldn't. I mean, Michael Smith gone out of this quarter by Jason Lowe. Pieman will touch on that, but I still wouldn't back Devin Peterson at 33-1 now. And there's only about 20 players left. So that was my thinking. And the odds on that are Peterson's obviously the favourite, as you can imagine. He's 2-5. Jason Lowe's 2-1. A bit of a mystery package for me, or a dark horse. Jason Lowe. Pieman, what was your thoughts on his second round and prospects for today?
Well, I kind of said in the overall preview, all that time ago, that Jason Lowe's a bit of a dark horse. He's someone I've been with a few times. Expected big runs out of and not really delivered, but he's certainly not a fashionable player. He looks like he's been pulled out of a local boozer, to be honest. But he's a very efficient player, as we saw, knocking out Michael Smith. That was no flash in the pan. 7 180s, a 96 average. Michael Smith still averaged 93, so it wasn't a vintage Michael Smith performance by any standards. But Jason Lowe won that match 11-3 in legs, so it was a real beating, to be honest. It wasn't tight. It wasn't like he was nicking these sets 3-2. So I think we have to say that was a really, really strong performance. If he can replicate that performance, I think he could beat Devin Peterson. Would I be confident in backing Lowe? Probably not. But at the prices, they've put such a disparity between the pair. You could easily get with Lowe on some kind of handicap around the 8 to 11 even money kind of mark. Probably give him a 2-set start or a 1-set start, and just depending on your confidence, really. As you say, it wasn't a vintage Devin Peterson performance in his first game by any stretch. His doubling was pretty atrocious, to be honest, bar a couple of patches. So I certainly couldn't put anyone off having a good look at Jason Lowe.
Yeah, Low on the handicap, plus 1.5 is 10 to 11, plus 2.5 is 4 to 9. So
I think the 1.5, 10 to 11, I think he can make a real game of this. As you say, Peterson, not particularly impressive.
He's got to win 3 sets to do that, hasn't he? So
yeah, I think it'll be a tight match. I do think it'll be a tight match.
Yeah. On to the evening session, and sticking with, we're back into quarter one, and Dave Chisnall against Danny Noppert. Similar to Peterson, really, but worse. I thought Danny Noppert was absolutely shocking in his first round game, to be honest, and he still managed to win it on an 80.5 average. I mean, poor from Danny Noppert. He got past the erratic South African Cameron Carillison. A set down, should have been 2 sets down, and managed to get through that one 3-1. He takes on Dave Chisnall. Chisnall was decent in his game against Keegan Brown, average 97, 3-1 win. Chisnall's 4 to 11 for this. I'm not saying go out and start backing that with all your money, but it should be sure to. I just cannot see anything other than a Dave Chisnall win here. Chisnall minus 1.5 on the handicaps, 4 to 6. So that means he's got to win 4-0, 4-1 or 4-2. That would probably be my bet.
Yeah, I think I'd maybe even go a little bit further and just back the correct outcomes of 4-0 and 4-1. You wouldn't go far wrong. It's not that I don't think Danny Noppert's got the talent. He obviously has. He's world number 25, so he's above some fantastic players in the rankings. But he's just struggled for form for a long time now, and And he got past Corillison. He deserves some credit for that, because when you're not at your game, it's easy to just kind of roll over, but he didn't. But to be honest, the South African more let him off the hook. Really nosedived in his performance after a good couple of opening sets. Dave Chisnall, you wouldn't think he'd get the same amount of chances against Dave Chisnall. He's going to have to play way, way better, because let's be fair to Chizzy. In this quarter, all we've kind of talked about is Van Gerwen and Vandenberg. Van Gerwen and Vandenberg showdown in the quarters, this and that. If Chisnall wins this, he'll play Vandenberg in the last 16. That'll be a good match. And it'll be quite a tight market, to be honest, because Chizzy has got the ability to go with a player as good as Vandenberg. So I'm not going to say I'm worried about Dave Chisnall, because I think Dimitri Vandenberg's form is better than Dave Chisnall. But I would definitely say that Chisnall is not a player to be lightly discounted. He's in the top 10 in the world. On his day, he could beat anyone. So even below par Dave Chisnall beats Danny Noppert for me. Beats him quite comfortably, unless Danny Noppert has improved hugely since we last saw him 3 or 4 days ago. So, Dave Chisnall, I'd probably go 4-1.
Yeah, 4-1's around the 3-1 mark, and 4-0 is 3.5 to 1 in that region. That would complete round 3 and into round 4 in this evening session. So the round 4 games are still best of 7, so first to 4 sets. And the first round 4 game is a cracker. Gabriel Clemens, who was knocked out at Peter Wright, as we know, against Krzysztof Ratajski, who walloped Simon Whitlock 4-0, unfortunately for us. Great game plan, man. I know you're a big Clemens fan, and he could be booking himself a quarter-final spot here.
Well, he definitely could. One of these two players is going to get their first appearance in the quarterfinals, and it'll be deservedly so, whoever it is, to be honest. They've both been fantastic. Clemens, as you say, brilliant performance to see off Peter Wright in a sudden death leg. He prior to that, he had a very good game with Nico Kurz, where he saw off his compatriot, and they both played extremely well. So his form line is really strong coming into this game. Clemens, Ratajski, as you said, destroyed Whitlock, and he also beat Joyce 3-0 to my memory. So I believe that makes him, alongside possibly Dimitri Vandenberg, the only player not to drop a set at this stage. Don't quote me on that, because I'm doing that off the top of my head, so that could well be wrong. But
we beat Joyce 3-0.
Can't be many players that haven't dropped a set. So very impressive.
We've got
this is one of our fans.
From one of our 50 subscribers has just walked in to get some live action. Bugger off. I'm surprised we've managed about 25 videos without that happening. To be fair, I mean, it's
we could do with some excitement on this channel. Maybe we can get him a daily feature. Look, this is a difficult game to call. I wouldn't be putting up either player with any certainty. This could have easily been Peter Wright versus Simon Whitlock, couldn't it? And a lot of people would have planned that, including maybe not myself on the Peter Wright front, but I thought Whitlock would be in this match. So slightly disappointed from that perspective. But I'm expecting this to be really close. You wonder, is it going to be a case of which player holds themselves together more? Because it's a massive occasion for both of them. Not only are they in the last 16, but they've got a winnable game. I would probably still, despite what I've just said about Nerve, probably still be just in the 180 line. We talked about this in the previous Gabe Clemens match against Kurz. I think we were on the over and it landed. Ratajski's a 180 merchant, very, very good scorer. And you've got to say that this could easily go 6 or 7 sets. So I expect the line to be quite high, but I'd rather be with it than against it personally.
Yeah, Clemens is the outsider of the two 11-8. Ratajski's 4-7. So Ratajski's a shorter price to win this match than he was the Simon Whitlock match. We can all be clever after the event in terms of Simon Whitlock's form, but Ratajski was impressive in that match, and Clemens has obviously beat Snake. Now, what we have seen in previous years with many, many examples is when they knock out the big boy. It used to be Taylor, it is now Van Gerwen, and we can extend that to Peter Wright. Clemens has knocked out Peter Wright, the reigning world champion, the biggest win of his career, etc., etc. Is he going to bounce, as it were, in this game? Is he? Can he replicate it? That's the big question. And we're obviously going to find out. I think from a pure betting perspective, I would rather be with Ratajski because he is poker face, stoic, switched on. unemotional, whatever you want to say. So yeah, Ratajski, like you say, just that pure pressure of that he's 140 and he's 140 it in, and he's so consistent with it. But I mean, it's definitely a no bet game for me. Definitely.
Have you got the 180 line? Sorry.
Yeah, the 180 line total is 11.5. Yeah, there was a few 180s in Clemens' last game, and Clemens' personal 180s line is 6.5, and Christoph is 5.5. So that's 11.5 the total. That might interest people like you, Pieman.
Yeah, I got to say it probably does. To be honest, I see this. If there's one certainty about this mysterious looking game, it's that both players can hit maximums for fun, and I imagine the momentum will shift quite a lot during this game, and it often shifts on 180. So yeah, that's probably the way I would play it, but not one to be missed. This, I think that'd be a cracker.
Yeah, and the headline act of the evening is Michael van Gerwen against Joe Cullen. Van Gerwen's been absolutely fantastic, if you ask me, so far. We covered him on our review video, daytime review video. We covered it on there, and Pieman had some strong views, and so did I. But yeah, he's averaged 108 and 106 against opponents that on paper shouldn't and did not trouble him, but still very good averages nonetheless. Joe Cullen has averaged 94 and 92 in his 2 wins so far. He's obviously going to have to up that. I think Van Gerwen will walk this, to be honest. He's 1-9, Van Gerwen. I think Cullen's one of them where he can be disheartened. And I think if Van Gerwen comes out, wins the first set 3-0 or 3-1, averages 107, I think he could just run away with it. I think we could see that kind of story tonight. So yeah, Van Gerwen to win 4-0s, 13-8, 4-1s, 9-4. You get the idea.
Yeah, I look, I won't go too much into it again. I just kind of, on the review video last time out, just tried to deliver what I thought was a little bit of a reality check on Michael van Gerwen. I'm not trying to discredit what has been 2 brilliant performances at all, but he has only beaten Ryan Murray and Ricky Evans, and both of those played very, very well. But now we're getting into the more serious business. He's facing someone in Joe Cullen who has beaten him on the stage a couple of times this year, including in the final of the European Tour. Joe Cullen is one of the world's top 16. He can raise his game against better players. He's used to playing in the later stages, albeit not of quite of the big events. He has shown a bit of stage fright on occasions in the Grand Slam, the Worlds, etc. But he got through a real back and forth battle with Johnny Clayton. He kind of knows this is a free hit. If Joe Cullen plays up to his ability, I could see him taking a couple of sets. I'm not sure I could quite see him beating Van Gerwen, but I will make a prediction. I don't think Van Gerwen will post an average quite as high as he has done in his last couple of matches. I expect him to regress a tad here, maybe to around the 102, 103 mark, which is still outstanding and would still beat 99% of players. But I just think what we've seen against Ricky Evans and Co. He's playing an opponent here who, providing Joe Cullen sort of turns up, and he does kind of 80% of the time. He's fairly reliable. I think he's playing a player here who he probably has a little bit more fear over than his previous 2 opponents. And I think that'll just bring a slight regression in MVG's game. And maybe people just saying, he was tested, but I still expect him to progress. Not one to play, but one I will definitely be watching. And I hope Joe Cullen can make it interesting. Yeah,
Cullen on the is plus 2.5 on the handicap, so 11-8 to win 2 sets, which I think was something you was edging towards there, Pieman.
Yeah, no, I'll go on then. I'll put that up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the 180s, Van Gerwen, we noted his 180s line for his last game was 4.5. He smashed through that. I think he got 6 or 7. Van Gerwen's 180s line for this game is 4.5 again. The total 180s for both players, the line set at 10.5. So. Yeah, one to keep an eye on the Van Gerwen 180s. We flagged that previously. I didn't expect him to smash his line against Ricky Evans. I thought he would do it in a game sooner rather than later, but it turned out it was the Ricky Evans game.
Well, he only had 4 sets to do it, and he still smashed it, didn't he? So
yeah, and I think the pace of that game as well, and the pressure that Ricky was putting him under at times, I think made him stay up on the 20s more than switching to the 90s.
I think Ricky Evans brought the best out of Michael van Gerwen.
Yeah, with the pace of the game.
Unfortunately for him.
Yeah, but Joe Cullen's no slouch either. So yeah, that wraps up our preview of day 12. Like I say, there's 6 games, which includes the conclusion of round 3. So, yeah, plenty going on, and we are getting towards the business end now. So we'll speak to you soon. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.